Good morning, welcome to Mondays with Marthie. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you want to leave me any comments or suggestions, I welcome those. So there's three things I want to talk to you about today. First thing is love thy neighbor's dog. The second thing is being vulnerable, and the third thing is overcoming disappointment. So today is very cold, it's winter, so I have to wait a little bit longer until it's light enough to make the video, which is interesting. Anyway, the first thing is love the neighbor's dog. I think a lot of times people think that you're just dealing with the person that's in front of you, but you don't see them as being attached to a community that has meaning for them. So that means it might be a cat, a dog, a neighbor, a grandparent, a child. You don't just deal with that one person, because it's like pulling out a thread out of your jersey, and it comes attached, that is entangled into a piece that's already existing. So if you want to make a difference and connect better with the people around you, you have to be aware of what is important to them. So I think that's a thing you shouldn't forget. And then the second thing is being vulnerable. Now I have discovered this, that people do appreciate it if you're yourself and don't put another level up. So for me, it means if I do a show in a fancy place, I might have a blingy dress on and put on my high heel shoes and my lipstick, but it doesn't mean that I put myself a level higher. It means that I will still be vulnerable and expose who I am. I'm not all of a sudden perfect just because I put my foot on stage and have a position of power, because let's say I'm doing a show and you're in the audience. Doesn't mean that I'm a next level. All I'm doing is I'm just telling stories from my perspective that people might appreciate or relate to, and in a way that makes you vulnerable. My one friend said, I know you better than I actually wanted to. But that's just how it is. If you have the privilege of having a power position, it's important to use that and be very aware of the influence and the role you play. It doesn't mean that you're more important. It just means that for that moment, the light is on you, and it could be an opportunity for that light to reflect back on the people that are part of your audience. And then the third thing is how to overcome disappointment. It's always like that. You're not always going to be the best or the person chosen or the successful project. Or what does that mean? Does it mean that you're not successful? I think once you see disappointment as part of the journey to success, whatever that might mean for you, it's easier, because you realize that nobody gets a paved route on their life. It's part of the success is to keep trying and moving forward. And I think the most important thing about disappointment is to realize that it's part of your learning curve, to make you stronger, to reach your journey's end, and to equip you better. So it's not the end of the world if you're not always the success that you imagined, because sometimes what you imagined and what actually happens in your world is different, and it might even be better. So that's what I found. I think, the event wasn't a success, or there wasn't that many people, or I didn't make that much money, or I had to put in this much investment and I only got this much return. Sometimes there's things you can't measure. And even now, maybe in 10 years' time, you'll see what you were building. So for me, for example, I'll find somebody that said, you know what, that song you sang last year really changed my perspective. Or weren't you the person that sang that song 10 years ago? Now, for me, that's like, wow. If you can remember the story I told you through music 10 years after, isn't that success? Sometimes you want to measure it and how many people were there and stats and statistics, and it is nice to have, but sometimes it's the one person that shares with you what they took away that makes you successful. And then disappointments are just part of your journey, and it's not the end all of everything. So there you have it. Love thy neighbor's dog, be vulnerable, and how to overcome disappointment. So please subscribe, and I'll see you next Monday.